sander is only going to sand, and it's not equipped with any fixtures. Now, you could try to hold the club freehand. However, I cheat and use the ferrule turning fixture to hold the shaft, so it acts as an extra pair of hands. Okay. In this slide, I'll wait for it to change here. Sorry about I didn't have this in color for you today. But these are some homemade ferrule turning fixtures I want to show you. First, you want to make sure that you set it to the proper height. Again, with the club, so it's positioned more in the middle in the flexible portion of the belt. But if you're going to use the base of the belt sander for your support, you want to have the platen removed. And I don't have a shot here to show you how to do that, but you can kind of use your own creativity. But in this case, oops, go back here. This top one, this was all made out of metal, and there's some felt in between the V's here so that it protects the shafts, especially graphite shafts. And basically, no one's holding that golf club right there. That's just sitting by itself, so you can see how it works. This is screwed on to the platform of your belt sander, so it can it could easily be removed if you wanted to. The bottom one was one set up for a 1x30 inch belt sander. One of the instructors that I used to work with made. This was simply made out of scrap pieces of lumber, and all this was something to provide a platform here so the club could rest against, so that it would free up your hands. So it doesn't have to be real fancy. Okay. Now, to use the belt sander, you want to be sure to first install the special linen belt. Most of these are white. There's also a red Egyptian cloth, which is, I guess, a little bit finer. I've always used the white one myself. Now, once you turn on the belt sander, you want to position the club where the top of the hosel and the ferrule meet in the center of the belt. Okay, and once you're aligned and ready to start, you want to begin rotating the club in the direction opposite of the belt that's traveling. So if the belt's going down like this, you want to rotate the club in this manner right here. See, can you see it? Whoops. Let me move my cursor here. It goes like this. I always find it helpful that if I put the fingers on the toe of the club to help spin it, the other hand could be used on the shaft to provide the pressure. And again, there's a certain technique that you'll get over time. In this picture, you'll see that the head is on the left side of the belt, whereas on our first slide showing a belt sander, the head would have been positioned on the right-hand side. It really doesn't matter because you'll practice until you get a feel for it, and it becomes second nature. And this is where the ferrule turning fixture is very helpful to assist in holding the ferrule evenly against the belt. And it's very important to keep the ferrule moving at all times when in contact with the belt, in order to prevent the belt from damaging or burning up the ferrule. And if you ever feel that you're going to pause, all you have to do is simply back off of the belt. Remember, you can always sand more. You can't undo what if you make a mistake. And you want to continue rotating the club until the base of the ferrule is flush with the top of the hosel. Now, the top of the ferrule should not be turned down even with the shaft. It might be unavoidable to sand it a little bit, but it should remain relatively untouched by the belt for a nice professional appearance. Once you've successfully turned the ferrule with your belt sander, you may want to elect to steel wool the ferrule with either the 0.000 or 4/0 steel wool. You'll have to make your own judgment if the ferrule needs this extra step once you closely inspect your work. After which, you want to apply acetone to a paper towel and apply it in a circular motion. And reason why circular motion, it's the same rotation as what the belt is doing, because you'll probably have more marks. But there's some club makers out there that will contend that you want to use an up and down motion with your rag so that you can eliminate the acetone lines. But you could try both methods, and you could see for yourself which method works best or suits your needs. And again, make sure that the towel is kept moist. And I mean, when I talk moist, I'm talking damp or soaked during the step, so that you get a nice, shiny, smooth ferrule. Okay. Here we go. I would suggest before ever turning a ferrule, especially with a belt sander, that at least for a customer, that you want to practice on older clubs first. The belt, especially on the smaller 1x30" belt sanders, can remove material very quickly. And if you take too much off, it's going to be cosmetically unacceptable, and you're going to have to start all over. Also, make sure that if you are using the smaller 1x30" belt sanders, that you can find the appropriate size linen belts, as they're not available by all the component suppliers. And these aren't commercially available like the sandpaper back belts are. And remember, you don't want to make a mistake because you're going to have to disassemble and the whole club and install another ferrule. This could be costly and time-consuming, and after you do it the first time, believe me, you'll be extra careful in the future. You can also partially finish the ferrule. That is, you can remove the meat of the ferrule by hand or with the assistance of the belt sander, and then proceed to go along to the other assembly steps in the process. At the very end, then you can do your acetone wipe to restore the shine while you're wiping down the shaft to clean any fingerprints off the club, or applying a shaft label, if any, onto the shaft. On a final note, don't try to rush. Take your time and do the job right the first time. Well, that's a wrap on ferrule finishing. Let's send it back over to Rob, and we can field any questions you might have.
Great. That was excellent, Jeff. Okay, first question comes from John. Everybody can post their questions in the question box. On the jig slide, does the lower jig for 30" sander have a groove cut in it or some other method to locate the shaft?
Let me go back to that slide for a second. That's a good question. Unfortunately, I can't enlarge this any, but if the table is actually flat, and there's actually little wooden dowels that are set up. There's one on either side of the shaft closest to the belt, and that's there so that it won't wobble back and forth. There's a little bit of space there for, a little bit bigger shaft. And then there's some on the butt end as well, just so that there's supports. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So no groove into the board. It's a flat board, and then the dowels are just sticking up like little towers.
Yeah, but I mean,